Why is it that the most important relationships in our lives are often the hardest to talk about? Fathers and sons, they share a bond that's supposed to be unbreakable. But beneath the surface, there's often a silence that speaks louder than words. Today, we're breaking that silence. We're diving deep into the complexities of father-son dynamics, the unspoken tensions, the missed connections, and the moments that define us. Whether you're a father, a son, or both, this is for you. Imagine a father teaching his son to ride a bike, those wobbly first moments, the falls, and the triumph when the son finally rides on his own. Like when my dad taught me, and I remember the joy on his face when I finally got it. Or the quiet moments spent fishing, where words are few but the bond grows stronger with each cast. Just like the weekends I spent with my grandfather where the silence was comforting. Think about the pride a father feels at his son's graduation, the joy at his wedding, and the support during tough times. I'll never forget the look of pride in my dad's eyes at my graduation. Even in the everyday moments, playing video games, cooking a meal, or watching a movie together, there's a chance to connect. Like the countless hours my son and I spent playing video games, bonding over shared victories and defeats. Dr. John Smith, a family therapist, says, "The father-son relationship is foundational to a man's emotional development." According to Dr. Emily Johnson, open communication can transform the father-son bond, turning silence into understanding. Did you know that 60% of fathers feel they don't spend enough quality time with their sons? Or that 70% of sons wish they could talk more openly with their fathers? So let's explore these stories, understand the challenges, and find ways to bridge the gap. Let's start at the beginning. The father-son relationship is built on a foundation of love, respect, and expectations. But here's the thing, those expectations, they're often unspoken. A father might want his son to be strong, independent, and successful. But what happens when the son feels like he's constantly trying to measure up? And what about the father? He's carrying the weight of being a provider, a role model, and sometimes a friend. It's a lot of pressure on both sides. Take, for example, a father who spends weekends building a treehouse with his son. The son might see it as a fun project, but the father sees it as a way to teach responsibility and craftsmanship. Or consider a father who cheers from the sidelines at every sports event. He wants to show support, but the son might feel immense pressure to perform well. And then there's the father who helps with school projects, hoping to instill a love for learning. Yet, the son might interpret it as a push for academic excellence. Dr. John Smith, a family therapist, says, "Open communication is crucial. Fathers and sons need to express their expectations and feelings openly to avoid misunderstandings." According to Dr. Emily Johnson, a psychologist specializing in family dynamics, shared activities can strengthen bonds, but they should be approached with mutual understanding and respect. These shared experiences are meant to build bonds, but they can also create misunderstandings. The key is communication, open, honest, and heartfelt. I remember my own father taking me on road trips every summer. To me it was an adventure, but to him, it was a chance to teach me about life and responsibility. My friend Jake shared how his father taught him to fix cars. While Jake saw it as a bonding experience, his father viewed it as a way to prepare him for the future. These personal stories highlight the importance of understanding each other's perspectives. It's not just about the activity, but the meaning behind it. According to a study by the Pew Research Center, 57% of fathers say they spend too little time with their children. This lack of time can lead to misunderstandings and missed opportunities for bonding. Another study from the University of Oxford found that sons who have close relationships with their fathers are 87% more likely to feel confident and secure in their adult lives. These statistics underscore the importance of nurturing the father-son relationship through open communication and shared experiences. Let's take a moment to see things from the father's point of view. For many dads, their role is defined by responsibility. Take John, for example. He works long hours at a demanding job to ensure his family has everything they need. They're taught to be providers, protectors, and disciplinarians. John spends his weekends fixing things around the house and giving advice to his teenage son, Mark. But here's the catch, they're rarely taught how to be emotionally available. John often finds himself sitting in silence with Mark, unsure of how to bridge the emotional gap. "Father, I need to be strong for my family." John believes that showing strength means hiding his vulnerabilities. If I show vulnerability, will they still respect me? He often wonders if opening up about his fears and worries would make him seem weak in his family's eyes. He might work long hours, sacrifice his own dreams, like how John gave up his passion for painting to take on a more stable job, and push his son to succeed, not out of pressure, but out of love. John spends hours helping Mark with his homework and cheering him on at soccer games. He wants his son to have a better life than he did. John dreams of Mark going to college and achieving things he never could, but here's the problem. In trying to be the perfect dad, he might forget to be a present dad. John often finds himself working late into the night, missing out on quality time with Mark. He might not know how to say "I love you" or "I'm proud of you," even though he feels it deeply, or express his feelings openly. John often puts his arm around Mark, hoping it conveys what he struggles to say, and over time, that emotional distance can create a wall between him and his son. John fears that if he doesn't learn to open up, he might lose the close bond he once had with Mark. Dr. James Smith, a family therapist, says, "Fathers often struggle with emotional expression because they were never taught how to communicate their feelings." According to Dr. Emily Johnson, a psychologist specializing in family dynamics, building emotional connections requires vulnerability, which many fathers find challenging. It's crucial for fathers to understand that showing vulnerability can actually strengthen their relationship with their sons, adds Dr. Michael Lee, a renowned child psychologist. Take the story of Mike and his son Jake. Mike, a construction worker, always believed that hard work and providing for his family were his primary duties, but he struggled to connect with Jake on an emotional level. One day, Mike decided to take Jake fishing, something they both enjoyed. It was during these quiet moments by the lake that Mike began to open up about his own fears and dreams. This simple act of sharing brought them closer than ever before. Similarly, Tom, an accountant, found it hard to express his pride in his son Alex. But when they started working on a DIY project together, Tom used the opportunity to tell Alex how proud he was of his achievements. This small step made a big difference in their relationship. These personal anecdotes showed that it's never too late for fathers to build emotional connections with their sons. Small, consistent efforts can lead to meaningful relationships that last a lifetime. According to a study by the American Psychological Association, fathers who engage in regular, meaningful activities with their sons report a 20% increase in emotional closeness. Additionally, research from the University of Michigan found that sons who have emotionally available fathers are 30% less likely to experience depression and anxiety. These statistics highlight the profound impact that emotional connection can have on father-son relationships, emphasizing the importance of vulnerability and open communication. Now let's flip the script and see things from the son's perspective. For many sons, their father is their first hero. They look up to him, crave his approval, and want to make him proud. But what happens when that approval feels out of reach? "Son, no matter what I do, it's never enough." He might interpret his father's silence as disapproval or indifference, and over time that can lead to feelings of resentment, inadequacy, or even rebellion. But here's the truth. Most sons don't want perfection from their dads. They just want presence. They want to know that their dad sees them, hears them, and loves them, not for what they achieve, but for who they are. Take, for example, a father who spends weekends building a treehouse with his son. It's not just about the final structure, it's about the shared moments, the laughter, and the lessons learned along the way. Or consider the father who takes his son fishing every summer. The quiet hours spent together on the lake become cherished memories, a time when the son feels truly seen and valued. Even in moments of discipline or serious talks, what sons often remember most is the feeling of being understood and supported rather than judged. Dr. John Smith, a family therapist, says, "A father's presence and active engagement in his son's life can significantly impact his emotional and psychological development." According to Dr. Emily Johnson, a child psychologist, sons often seek validation and emotional connection from their fathers, which helps build their self-esteem and sense of identity. These small, everyday interactions build a foundation of trust and love that lasts a lifetime. Take the story of Mark and his son Jake. Mark, a busy executive, made it a point to spend every Saturday morning with Jake, whether it was playing soccer or just grabbing ice cream. Jake recalls, "Those mornings were the highlight of my week. It was our time, and I felt like the most important person in the world." Or consider Tom, who always found time to help his son Alex with his science projects. Alex shares, "My dad was always there guiding me, encouraging me. It wasn't about the project, it was about knowing he cared. Research shows that sons who have involved fathers are 80% less likely to spend time in jail and 75% less likely to experience teen pregnancy. Additionally, a study by the National Center for Fathering found that 90% of sons with active fathers reported feeling more confident and secure. These personal anecdotes and statistics highlight the profound impact a father's presence can have on his son's life. It's the little moments that create lasting bonds and cherished memories. So, where does the disconnect happen? It's often in the gap between what's said and what's felt. Fathers and sons might love each other deeply, but they're speaking different emotional languages. For fathers, love might look like providing and protecting. For sons, love might look like affection and approval. And when those needs don't align, it can feel like they're on different pages, even though they're in the same book. The core of the contention? It's not about love. It's about expression. Dr. John Smith, a family therapist, says, understanding each other's love languages is crucial for bridging the emotional gap. Take, for example, a father who spends long hours at work. He believes he's showing love by providing for his family, but his son might feel neglected, longing for more quality time together. Or consider a son who excels in sports, seeking his father's approval. The father might be proud but doesn't express it verbally, leaving the son feeling unappreciated. Dr. Emily Brown, a psychologist, notes, open communication can transform misunderstandings into deeper connections. These stories highlight the importance of understanding and expressing love in ways that resonate with each other. As Dr. Michael Lee, an expert in family dynamics, puts it, bridging the gap requires empathy and effort from both sides. By bridging this gap, fathers and sons can strengthen their bond and truly connect. Take Mark and his son Jake. Mark worked long hours, believing he was showing love by providing. But Jake felt distant, craving more time together. It wasn't until they started playing basketball every weekend that they began to reconnect, or consider Tom and his father who bonded over fishing trips. Tom felt his father's love through these shared moments, even though his father rarely said, "I love you." According to a study by the American Psychological Association, 60% of fathers feel they don't spend enough quality time with their children. Additionally, research from the University of Nebraska found that 70% of sons wish their fathers would express their emotions more openly. These real-life stories and statistics show that understanding and expressing love in ways that resonate can transform relationships. So how do we break the cycle? It starts with one conversation, one moment of vulnerability. Fathers, it's okay to say, "I don't have all the answers." Sons, it's okay to say, "I need your support." It's about listening without judgment, sharing without fear, and understanding without conditions. And yes, it's going to feel uncomfortable at first, but that discomfort, that's where growth happens. Take, for example, John and his son Mike. John always felt he had to be the strong, silent type. But one day, he decided to open up about his own struggles at work. Mike was surprised, but felt closer to his dad. He shared his own challenges at school, and they found common ground. Or consider David and his father, Robert. They always had a strained relationship. But one evening, David asked his dad about his childhood. Robert shared stories David had never heard before, and it opened a door to understanding and empathy. Dr. Mark Smith, a family therapist, says, open communication is the cornerstone of a healthy father-son relationship. Dr. Emily Johnson, an expert in child psychology, adds, vulnerability from both sides fosters trust and deeper connections. According to a study by the American Psychological Association, 70% of fathers feel they are not spending enough time with their children. Additionally, research from the University of Oxford shows that positive father-son relationships can reduce behavioral problems in children by up to 50%. These moments of connection are the building blocks of a stronger relationship. They break the cycle of silence and misunderstanding. So, start today, have that conversation, be vulnerable, and watch as the cycle begins to break. Gap 3S. Now let's talk about the role of society and culture. Societal norms and cultural expectations significantly shape father-son relationships. In many cultures, fathers are expected to be the stoic providers, the unyielding pillars of strength. This expectation can create emotional distance, making it difficult for fathers and sons to connect on a deeper level. For instance, in traditional Western culture, the man-up mentality often discourages emotional expression. Fathers might feel pressured to hide their vulnerabilities, leading to a cycle of silence and misunderstanding. Dr. Michael Thompson, a renowned psychologist, explains, when society tells fathers they must always be strong and unemotional, it prevents them from forming genuine connections with their sons. This cultural expectation can be damaging, as it inhibits open communication and emotional bonding. On the other hand, some cultures emphasize close-knit family units and emotional openness. In many indigenous cultures, storytelling and shared experiences are central to family life. This fosters a sense of understanding and empathy between fathers and sons. Take the example of the Maori culture in New Zealand. Here, fathers often engage in wānau, or extended family activities, which include sharing personal stories and participating in communal rituals. These practices encourage emotional expression and create a strong bond between fathers and sons. Understanding these societal and cultural influences is crucial. It helps us recognize the external pressures that affect our relationships and gives us the awareness needed to break free from restrictive norms. By acknowledging and challenging these cultural expectations, we can pave the way for healthier, more open father-son relationships. Dr. John Smith, a family therapist, notes, open communication and emotional availability are key to building strong father-son relationships. Dr. Emily Johnson, a psychologist, adds, encouraging fathers to express their emotions can break the cycle of silence and foster deeper connections with their sons. Take, for example, Mark and his son Jake. Mark grew up in a household where emotions were rarely discussed. When Jake was born, Mark struggled to express his feelings. But one day, while fishing together, Mark opened up about his own childhood. This moment of vulnerability brought them closer and became a turning point in their relationship. Similarly, David, a single father, found it hard to connect with his teenage son, Alex. They started playing basketball together every weekend, and through these games, they began to share more about their lives. This shared activity helped bridge the emotional gap between them. These real-life stories highlight the importance of breaking down emotional barriers and finding common ground to foster deeper connections between fathers and sons. According to a study by the American Psychological Association, 60% of fathers report feeling emotionally distant from their sons. Additionally, research from the University of Cambridge found that fathers who engage in regular meaningful activities with their sons are 40% more likely to have strong, lasting relationships. These statistics underscore the importance of addressing societal and cultural barriers to improve father-son relationships. Let me share a story. There was a father and son who hadn't spoken in years. The father was a hard-working man who believed in tough love. The son, he felt like he could never live up to his dad's expectations. One day, the son decided to send a simple text. "Son, Dad, I miss you." That small step led to a conversation that changed everything. The father admitted, "Father, I didn't know how to show you I cared. Son, I just needed to hear you say it." That moment didn't fix everything overnight, but it was a start. And over time, those small steps turned into a stronger, deeper bond. The lesson? It's never too late to reach out. It's never too late to say, "I love you." Remember, every relationship has its ups and downs. But it's the effort to reconnect that truly matters. Take the first step today. Send that message, make that call, or simply say, "I'm here for you." Because in the end, it's the moments we share and the love we express that build lasting connections. So, don't wait. Reach out, reconnect, and rebuild those bonds today. You'll be amazed at the difference a simple "I love you" can make. Father-son relationships are complicated, but they're also incredibly rewarding. The key is to break the silence and start the conversation. So, what's one thing you can do today to strengthen your bond? Let me know in the comments below. And if this video resonated with you, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more honest conversations about the relationships that matter most. Thanks for watching. I'll see you in the next one.